September 1st, 1939. Germany invades Poland under false pretext that the Poles carried out sabotage operations against German targets. Most Americans didn't want the U.S. to get involved. On December 7th, 1941, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor and the U.S. enters the war.
I stayed with the 35th Infantry Division, 134th Infantry. Company L was the company that I was assigned to. And we went over after we left California because we were guarding the West Coast out there for Jap invasion. And we went to Fort Rooker, Alabama. And we were down there about 8-9 months. And we went on winter maneuvers in Tennessee. And after we completed that training, we went to Camp Butner, North Carolina. And we were there about 4 months. And then we went to Camp Kilmer, processed, and went to England. And we were in England until we went into France. Well, the 29th Division was the first unit that went in. And we went in to relieve them because they lost a lot of men.
Yeah, yeah.
And we went in to replace them, and we fought.
Still in Omaha Beach, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through the stupid hedgerows, and it was just one fortress after another. You would take one and you'd add another one. They had their defenses set up. They would set up their machine guns in the corners, and if you tried to go through the field, I mean, they just mow us down.
Yeah.
And I had this jerk of a lieutenant that was 90-day wonder, and we were so far forward. I told him a couple of times to get the artillery or get some tanks up here. I said, "Don't you hear those machine guns?" And he said, "No, keep the men going, keep going." I said, "We're getting too far forward." And we were just surrounded. And so we run out of ammunition, and the Germans come up over there with their machine pistols, and once we ran out of ammunition, there wasn't much we could do. And so we just laid low. They come up over, fired, and I had shrapnel in my hands and everything too, and they were just picking our men off one after another because they were surrounding us, you know. And so they captured the 4 of us. And that's all that got out of that platoon. We were in several. We went to Chartres in France first, and with processing, and there was some British soldiers in there too. And then we went to Stalag 12A, and that's where we were registered with the Red Cross. That's how my family learned that I was a prisoner, and because they didn't know what happened to me, because they were listed as missing in action. And we went from there. Then they put us on train and sent us to Berblingen, Stalag 3C, which was on the eastern side of the Oder River. This is about 90 kilometers east of Berlin. And that's where we were until we were liberated by the Russian.
You had your own little business in there, didn't you? Cutting hair?
Yeah, my men in my platoon were getting pretty shaggy, and in between the two compounds, it was about as wide as this table down between them, and this guard walked down in between here, and I got to talking to him. He was from Houston, Texas. He came over to settle his dad's estate. His dad passed away. He came over to settle the estate. They said, "You're German." They put him right in the army. And he was, I would say, late 50s. And I walked along the fence there and would talk to him at night. And he got me scissors and comb and clippers. And so I started cutting hair. And I charged them in 3 cigarettes to cut their hair. Once in a while we could get a guard to bring us a loaf of bread for a package of cigarettes. And they would take our clothes, put us in this oven and kill the lice in them. And then we'd go back in the barracks and still got the lice. Our bedding was corn stalks, and we didn't have did have a blanket. And we were able to write like a postcard once a week, and once a month we could write a 1-page letter back to our families. And they did get some mail from me, but I never got any mail from them. It never came through. So I didn't know what happened to my family or anything in that 6-month period. In the morning, we would get, a canteen cup about half full of soup. That was supposed to be potato soup, but they used kohlrabies, which they fed their cattle and stuff over there, and it had little or no food value, really. And there were some potatoes in, and some horse meat, too. And surprisingly enough, horse meat is sweet. It's tasty, especially if you're hungry. And then at noon, we got a slice of bread that usually had sawdust and shavings in it. And on Sunday, we would get a little piece of meat. And when I was captured, I weighed about 175 pounds. And when I was liberated, I weighed 127.
Wow.
And I made a promise to the good Lord. If he would get me back safe, I would read a chapter in my Bible every day. And I have kept that promise all these years. And still do it. The commander was a Russian woman, and she opened up the turret on the tank and everything, and there were a couple of men in the camp that could speak Russian, and she told us to stay in the camp until we got the area secure, until they drove the Germans back. So we were there 2 days, and then the third day they marched us out at night and told us to go back to Warszawa, to Warsaw, and no transportation or nothing.
So after at that release, then all those prisoners got released and they just went wherever. They're supposed to go to Warsaw, but
There were about 2,000 Americans in this camp. Within 10 days, they just went everywhere. And some of them went back to Warsaw. Some of them, I don't know what they did or how they hid out or anything to get back to the American army, but the Russians wouldn't let us do it.
they wouldn't help you at all, would
No, they didn't help us at all. We went into one town there and there was a bicycle shop. And the door was nailed shut and everything that went upstairs, and we ripped that off. And we went upstairs and we made our bicycles. There were 2 other sergeants that we stuck together, the 3 of us. And so we made some brand new bicycles and everything. And we brought them down and got them out in the street. We didn't get 2 blocks until the stupid Russians took them away from us.
So you're back on foot.
Yeah, so we were walking and had a motorcycle that we found in one of the homes there, and the tires were flat on it. So what we did, we went out along the highway, took the valves and everything out of the things, and had tire pumps, pumped the tires up and everything on it, drained the gasoline out of the vehicles and stuff that were there that we could get, and put it in this this motorcycle, and this one sergeant and I took off, and we got, I guess, maybe 10 miles, and the stupid Russians again took it. And we were walking again. And we stole a team of horses and wagon, and we didn't get too far with them. We just went into German homes and took over and slept in their beds, and just, there were no Germans around.
Yeah, they were afraid for their lives,
Yeah.
even if they were civilians.
Yeah, they tried to get to the American army, and they didn't want to be captured by the Russians. And the road was just littered with bodies and vehicles and things all the way back to Poland. And so we did get a ride with a Russian one that was driving Studebaker trucks that we had done lease, I guess, to Russia. And I gave them a package of cigarettes to ride with them, and they took us back past Poznan, because Poznan was surrounded. The Germans were in Poznan, and the Russians encircled it, and finally they surrendered. But he was a supply truck that was going back and picking up supplies and bringing it up to the front. So we got to ride back past Poznan, and then it was walking again. So we walked and went back, and they had a collecting point, and it was filth. There was no bathrooms or anything, and they gave us what I call swill. It's made out of wheat, and it's like a oatmeal, but it's made out of wheat, and that's all we got to eat. So they told us to go on to Warsaw. So we went on into Warsaw, and there was a Red Cross soup kitchen there. So we went, and the three of us, and did get a bowl of soup. And while we were there, American Red Cross representative came. I gave him our family name and the address and everything, and asked him to send my folks a telegram that I was okay, you know, and that I was still alive. And so that's what he did when he went back to Moscow. He sent a telegram to my folks. So we stayed there. We slept up in a haymow in a barn there, and they did this one Red Cross clerk there said she had somebody that she thought could help us, and so she took us to to his house, and he had been a professor in the University of Warsaw, spoke fluent English.
So he was a Polish man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in the Polish underground, and he told us, he said, come back in 2 days and I'll help you. So we did. We went back in 2 days, and then there was a couple Polish men come, and they took us out. It must have been 25 miles from Warsaw, and it was like a hunting lodge, and this was really Polish underground. AK was what it was called.
Yeah. And
they fed us, got us a lot stronger, I mean, with food and everything, and took care of us, and until the war was over, and we said we'd have to get back to the American Army, and they said, okay, we'll get you there, just be patient. So finally they did. They got us down and across the border into Czechoslovakia, and we walked for several miles, and were able to get on a train that was running into Prague, and so we got off the train in Prague. As soon as we got off, stupid Russians took us, put us in jail.
Oh.
And of course we couldn't speak the language or anything, and so we were there that night, and the next morning here comes a major with it was an Australian that was a liaison officer with the Russian army, and he come and he says, "Hi, you Yanks." I said, "Oh man," I said, "I don't know how we're supposed to get out of here," but I said, "Can you do anything for us?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Just sit tight." He said, "I'll get you out of here." And we weren't that far from Pilsen, which was the borderline between Austria and Czechoslovakia, and the American forces were in Austria. So he finally came on a lorry, a little flatbed truck, and picked the three of us up and took us down, and he had the paperwork and everything to get us across the border, and got us across, took us up, and got back in the American Army then. we were there. They processed us, gave us clothes, new clothes and everything, and put us on a plane and flew us back to Reims, France. And we were there several days and processed us too, and then they sent us to Camp Lucky Strike, and we were there about 5 days, and they put us on a ship and sent it back to the
Oh, you
States.
took a ship back.
Yeah, and went back on
Yeah.
a ship to the States.
Did you say you never could remember that German soldier's name that helped you?
No, and I regretted it every time that I didn't get his wife's name and address. It just never dawned on me to do it, because when the Russians came in, the guards that didn't run or flee, they took them all, including the colonel that was the camp commander, out in the woods, bang, 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 shot them all. But I didn't get his wife's name because she was living in Houston, Texas. And he went over to settle his dad's estate. They're German, put him right in the army.
Wow.
Country was so bombed out and destroyed and everything. It was amazing what they did. When I went back in 1952, just 7 years after the war, it was amazing what they had rebuilt and done. Made the Army a career. Best move I ever made.